My Weird Writing Tips by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Part 2. How to write it right. Write it right. What if I write it left? Very funny, Arlo. The parts of speech. Okay, so I won't go too far into the parts of speech because there are a lot of rules to learn and they can bog you down when you're writing if you think too much about them. Basically, a noun is a person, place, or thing. It either does something, in which case it's called a subject, or it receives something, in which case it's called an object. A verb is an action word like run, jump, or play. An adjective describes a noun like tall, blue, or pretty. We'll talk about adjectives later. An adverb describes a verb, saying how you did something. It even has the word verb in it so you can remember. Adverbs are words like quickly, politely, and happily, and usually end in ly. Finally, prepositions are words that show the relationship between things. You know a word is a preposition if it fits into one of these two sentences. Everyone is tired, blank, Mr. Granite's class. For example, of, from, with, in. The squirrel went, blank, the tree. For example, to, for, after, into, up, around. Arlo and I ran for student government. Yeah, and it got us both into a lot of trouble. Which should you use? Which? It's or its. One of the biggest problems in the history of the world is when to write its and when to write its in a sentence. This problem has been around for centuries. In fact, most people don't know this, but when Cain and Abel were born, Eve printed up baby announcements that said, "It's a boy." Adam took one look at them and said, "You dumbhead, that should be 'it's a boy.'" They had to send all the announcements back and have them printed over again, which cost a pretty penny. Actually, I made that whole thing up. It didn't happen. Adam and Eve didn't speak English, and they didn't have baby announcements or printing companies back then. The point is, a lot of people have trouble with its and its. Well, it's simple. Notice I didn't write "it's simple." That's because "it's simple" is just a less formal way of writing "it is simple." You stick an apostrophe in there to take the place of the I in is. Anytime you're changing "it is" or "it has" to "its," you throw an apostrophe in there. And that's the only time you write "its." Got that? Let me say it again. You only use an apostrophe when you are changing "it is" or "it has" to "its," as in, "It's a shame that Mr. Klutz parachuted onto our big pizza. It's weird that Officer Spence stole the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It's hilarious when Mr. Granite tells us to open our math books and then we get called to an assembly." It's that easy. You get the idea. If you hear the "it is" in your head, you should use an apostrophe. Any other time you use "its," there is no apostrophe. Got that? So you should write, "Elementary school is famous for its weird teachers. Mrs. Yonkers turned on the computer and its screen was blank. AJ shot a rubber band at the Barbie doll and its head fell off." If you're still confused about when to use "its" or "its" in a sentence, just make sure to have somebody look over the baby announcements before you send them to the printers. That will solve the problem. Lie or lay. I get this one wrong all the time. Thank goodness I have editors to correct my writing. When Neil the nude kid goes to sleep, he will lie down on his bed. When he puts his backpack in his cubby, he will lay it down. You lay things down, but you lie down. You lay objects. People lie. Can or may. If you ask if you may do something, you're asking permission to do it. When you ask if you can do something, you're asking if you have the ability to do it. So if Ryan wanted to ask Mr. Granite for permission to go to the bathroom, he would say, "May I go to the bathroom?" If he said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" he would be suggesting that he might be constipated. Who or whom? Knock, knock. Who's there? To. To who? No, to whom. Basically, who does something, while whom has something done to it. I know that's still not clear. With who and whom, probably the best thing to do is to read some examples of each until your ear is tuned to what sounds right. A few examples of who. Who invented the telephone? Who ate my candy? Who loves ya, baby? Mr. Klutz, who has no hair at all, came into our class. Roger Daltrey was a member of the Who. And some examples of whom. To whom am I speaking? To whom it may concern. With whom did you go to the dance? To whom were you talking? There were 4 guys, one of whom was the leader. Those words to, with, and of are called prepositions, so whom is the word you use if it's an object of a preposition, while who is the word you use if it's a subject. Wow, Arlo, I'm impressed. I'm not in the gifted and talented program for nothing. Honestly, I don't really understand who or whom either. When in doubt, stick with who. Whom sounds a little old-fashioned and formal, like you're having a spot of tea with the Queen of England. If you start throwing around a lot of whoms with the guys at the playground, they'll probably beat you up and take your lunch money. Me or I. The titles of my baseball card adventure books are Honus and Me, Jackie and Me, Babe and Me, and so on. About once a year, I'll be at a book signing, and some smarty pants kid will raise a hand and say, "The titles to your books are grammatically incorrect. They should be Honus and I, Babe and I." My response is to shout, "Security, get that kid out of here." But seriously, when to use me and when to use I is one of those problems that just about everybody has, kids and adults. So don't feel bad if you mess it up. Most of the time, when you use the wrong word, it sounds weird. You would never write, "He likes I." Me don't want that. Give it to I. Or, "He punched I." Unless, of course, you were writing a story about Tarzan. He would always introduce himself by saying, "Me Tarzan." It would sound weird if he said, "My name is Tarzan." Take this sentence. Michael and I walked to school together. Michael and me would sound a little weird. In other situations, me or I isn't so obvious. Me and AJ went to school sounds fine to my ear. But it's wrong. The correct way to say it is, AJ and I went to school. How do you know? Try this. Say this sentence both ways. AJ and I went to school. AJ and me went to school. Now, leave out AJ and see if it makes sense. I went to school. Me went to school. The second one sounds obviously wrong, so AJ and I went to school is correct. That doesn't mean that "and I" is always correct. "Come with AJ and I" sounds okay, but you wouldn't say "come with I." So you shouldn't say, come with AJ and I. In that case, it should be, come with AJ and me. It's complicated, I know. I is almost always the subject, while me is always an object. It can be the object of a preposition, like give that candy to me, or it can be the object of a verb, like Andrea poked me. Did not. The nice thing is that as you grow older and gain more experience reading and hearing people speak, your ear is going to naturally tune in to what sounds right and what sounds wrong. Most of the time, if something sounds right when you read it out loud, it is right. Your brain and ears are terrific editors. When they hear a sentence that has been written poorly, they know. It sounds weird. It looks weird. Even if you don't know the rules, you can tell that something is off. Bad writing almost always sounds weird. But every so often, bad grammar, punctuation, and spelling look or sound just fine. As you get older, your teachers, who are way smarter than I am, are going to teach you the more complicated rules of grammar. You're going to learn about double negatives, active and passive voice, tenses, and all that other fun stuff from your language arts teacher. For now, just make sure the words sound right in your head. Let's try a few more difficult words. Your or your. Your is simply another way to say you are, as in, you think you are, you're pretty smart, Andrea, but actually you're a dumbhead. Say the sentence you're thinking of out loud. If you can't hear the words you are in there, do not use your. Your refers to something that belongs to you. Why would you poke your head into a door? None of your beeswax. So is your face. Run for your lives. There, or there. Similarly, there is just another way to say they are. As in, Miss Jaffrey and Mrs. Yonkers were doing jumping jacks in the teacher's lounge. They are there, weird, but they are there, getting good exercise. Again, say your sentence out loud. If you can't hear the words they are, don't use there. There refers to something that two or more people own. Andrea and Emily picked up their backpacks and stormed out of the vomitorium in a huff. They didn't even eat their lunches. There usually indicates a place. Mrs. Yonkers was in the computer room, so Ryan and I went over there. There is also used to indicate something exists or to mention it for the first time. There is a half pipe in Mr. Klutz's living room. There is no apostrophe in there. There, and there are really quite easy. Just remember this. There is no reason why Ryan and Michael put straws in their noses. They're weird. Two, or two. Two is a number. AJ has 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 nostrils. 2 means more than enough. Emily cries too much. Ryan ate too many hot dogs. 2 can also mean also. We let Alexia come with us too. 2 is used in all other cases. Effect or affect. Affect is a verb, effect is a noun. Remember, a noun is a thing and a verb is an action. So, AJ's insults had an effect on Andrea. Adding more potatoes had no effect on the speed of Mr. Docker's car. I didn't think Mr. Tony's flamethrower would affect the pizza so quickly. Losing his hair did not affect Mr. Klutz. He just shaved the rest off. The effect of studying will affect your test score in a good way. Effect is used more frequently, so when in doubt, effect is effective. Then or then. Then is about time and the order in which events take place. AJ bothered Andrea for a while, and then he bothered Emily. Miss Small juggled scarves, and then she made us do square dancing. Then is used to compare things. Miss Lazar has more toilet bowl plungers than anybody. Dr. Brad is a better ping-pong player than Ms. Coco.